Hey guys, can you hear me all right? Yeah. Okay, so today we're going to talk about this really crazy concept of building an app without writing any code, and also how to make money from it, because if you just build the app and have lots of users but aren't making any money from it, it's useless. So we're going to talk about both parts today. So I want to get a sense of who's in the room and kind of what you guys are up to. Show of hands, how many of you guys have ever had an idea for an app? You thought like, oh, that's like all of you. Okay, all right, good. So this will be helpful. So I like to be super transparent about what we're going to talk about today. And so the purpose of our workshop is to really talk about two things. So the first thing I'm going to do is share the keys to building your own app without you having to be a tech genius. Some of you in the room are already tech geniuses. That's okay. But we're going to talk about how to build an app without you having to be a tech genius. And then I'm also going to walk you through a new way to approach making money with your startup idea or your business app idea. Cool? Okay, great. So I also put together, we're going to talk about a ton of tools and resources today, and we're going to go kind of quickly. So I put together a toolkit that has all the different things we're going to talk about today for you. I'll bring this back up at the end of the presentation, but if you want to send me a text, and you text the word Summit21, make it one word, to 44222, I can send you the toolkit that has all the resources we'll talk about today. Cool. Yeah, make it easy. Okay, so quickly I want to introduce myself. You might be wondering, wait a minute, who is this lady up here talking? And so my name is Tara Reed, and I'm a tech entrepreneur. As mentioned in my intro, before becoming an entrepreneur, I led marketing initiatives at Google, Foursquare, and Microsoft. And in 2014, I left my marketing roles in corporate tech and launched an art startup. And I built that art startup's app and algorithm without writing any code. And so my background is in technology. I've worked at tech companies, but as a marketer, as a business person, right? So I helped the people who were building the apps actually market them, but I wasn't building them myself. And so since launching my own apps and my own companies, I've helped over 300 entrepreneurs launch apps and tech startups. And so I've had some really awesome opportunities. I've been featured in Entrepreneur Magazine's Young Millionaires edition. Forbes has done really fun articles on how to succeed in Silicon Valley when you don't look like Mark Zuckerberg, which is all of us. And I've done some really fun TED Talks on building apps without code as well. So this process, the process that I'm going to share with you today of building apps without code, has helped me and other entrepreneurs that I've worked with generate over $1 million in app launch revenue. And so one of the things I like to do as an entrepreneur is I like to just take moments for myself and visualize where I'm going next. And so I'm going to invite you guys to kind of do this with me. If you want to close your eyes, you can. If that's too corny, you don't have to. But I want you to imagine what your life looks like when you have thousands of people, if not tens of thousands of people, who are using something that you've built, something that you've created. Like large impact, lots of people that you're touching. What would that feel like? What would that be like for you? How would that change your life? And what would your life look like if you were recognized as a thought leader in whatever industry it is that you know a lot about, right? So not only are you writing about things and you're talking about things, but you also are building tools and resources for people around those things, right? You're a multi-layered thought leader. And what would your life look like when you have a team of people helping you? It doesn't have to be a humongous team, right? But a handful of people so that you know that you can take the day off and everything with the business is going to be just fine, or even the week off. And what would your life look like when you're generating $300,000 plus in a year in revenue for yourself? Like, how would that change things for you? What would that look like? And so I want to share really quickly what happened to me. If you have your eyes closed, you can open them again. I don't want to keep you hanging. So in 2014, I had an idea for a company and for an app. And I came up with the idea on a Monday. And by Thursday, I had launched this really ugly looking website that said, become an art collector, get a personal stylist for your walls. What's interesting to me about this site is I had no idea at the time how I was going to actually help people become an art collector. So what I did was I took out my phone and I wrote an email to myself. And if you squint a little bit, you can see it says, "Hey Gary, my name is Emily and I'm your art advisor. I found a few pieces of artwork for your living room. Here's a link, check it out here." Right, so I wrote an email to myself and I screenshotted it. And I didn't even know how to use Photoshop at the time, so I Googled an image of a phone and put them together in PowerPoint and slapped them up on the website, right? I was just trying to give people a sense of how this might work, right? And so in the first year of launching that startup, I had thousands of customers who were using the thing and the app that I had built. I generated over $150,000 in revenue. And I had got $300,000 from investors who wanted to give me money to help me continue to build the company. And so I took some really specific strategic steps in year one of building that company, and those specific strategic steps are what I'm going to share with you today. So here is what you're going to learn today. Secret number one, you can build an app in just a few days by blank. I'm going to fill in the blank for you. Secret number two, your app's business model must blank. I'm going to fill in that blank for you as well. This is kind of like a game of Mad Libs, if you guys have played that before, where you fill in the blanks. And secret number three, stop listening to your friends. Instead, blank your app, build a blank, and use it to blank. And I will fill in all those blanks for you. So let's jump into this. Secret number one, you can build an app in just a few days by using tools with logic. Tools with logic. So most people think if they want to build an app that they need to hire an expensive app building agency or web building agency to help them build the first version of their app. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the average price for kind of a first version of your app that an agency will charge you is $20,000. So I know when I started, I didn't have that. It just wasn't an option. But a lot of people think that this is what they need to do, and so they sit on their app idea for a long time and they never launch it because they're like, $20,000, I don't have that, move to the next thing. Or a lot of people think that in order to get started, they need to find a tech-savvy business partner, and they have to wait until they find that tech-savvy business partner until they start. And if you don't have a tech-savvy business partner who's ready to go, then you just wait and wait and wait and never launch it. A lot of people think that to get started, they need to teach themselves the basics of how to code in order to build an app. So they spend a ton of time digging through online tutorials and trying to learn HTML and CSS, and they're all confused, and it takes over a year to get proficient enough to actually build a fully functioning product for their users. And many people have completely put their app idea on the back burner because they figured, oh, I'm not a tech person, so this is impossible, I can't do it. So they never launch it. And so, as I was mentioning earlier, secret number one is you can build an app in just a few days by using tools with logic. And so what I mean by that is this. Logic tools are software tools that are out there on the internet, and they let you design apps by dragging and dropping. So sort of like you would design a PowerPoint presentation. You drag, drop, point, click. And then you logically tell the app what to do in English. Not in some other coding language that you need to learn, but in English, which you already know. And so how it works is you drag, drop, point, click. You put whatever you want onto the page, buttons, text, images, videos, all sorts of things. And then you logically tell the app what to do. So logic is what tells the app what to do. And I want to give you an example of a logic sentence that you already understand, right? So here's an example. If I push the first domino, then the other dominoes will fall. If this, then that. It's a pretty simple sentence. We all understand this. Okay, let me give you another example. If the user clicks the button, then log them in. Right, really simple sentence. All of us can write this out. This is clear. This is not confusing. So my tip for you is to find logic-based software to build your app and your app experience. There are a ton of tools out there for you to use. You do not have to use all of them. You just have to pick the best one or two for what you're trying to build. So I'm going to walk you through a bunch of different options. We're going to start with some beginning options for logic-based tools, and then we'll get fancier as we go along. So the first tool I want to show you are surveys. Now, I'm not talking about using surveys to ask for feedback, though. That's what surveys are usually used for. I'm talking about hacking a survey and using it for something that it's not necessarily intended to do, which is to create a custom portal for your users. So what you're looking at on the screen is actually a really early version of the app that I built and the experience that I built for my company, Collecto, the art startup that I told you about. And so each customer has their own kind of login portal, and they're able to see art recommendations and rate them on a 1 through 5 scale. Right? I'm doing this using a survey and sending this to the customers so it's a tech-enabled experience. Right? This takes a couple minutes to set up, and your customers are delighted because they've got a nice technology-enabled experience that they're using. Now, we talked about logic, right? So surveys often have logic built in. So let me give you an example of this. You might be taking a survey, and it'll ask you a question, and it'll say, what's your favorite color? Right? And it'll give you a multiple choice, and you might say purple. And then it gives you a follow-up question, and it says, great, why do you love purple? So it referenced the fact that you answered purple above, and is now asking you a purple-specific question. Right? And it's doing that by logic. If the person says purple, then ask them this question, right? So in many tools, the one I'm showing you on the screen, it's called Typeform, and they call this feature logic jumps. And you can get pretty fancy with logic jumps, and you can show different things to different users based on their answers, right? So surveys are a really interesting beginning tool that you can use. Spreadsheets are also another tool that you can use. Anybody like Excel in here? How many of you hate it? Okay, how many of you hate Excel? Okay, yeah, I had to ask that too. Okay, so spreadsheets allow you to do really interesting dynamic if this, then that statements. And what you can do is you can actually kind of create these interfaces for your customers. You can calculate things for them. You can create all sorts of dynamic stuff. And you just take the one sheet of the spreadsheet, particularly if you use Google Sheets or like a cloud-based spreadsheet, right? You can take the one page and design it to look really nice so that it looks like an interactive experience and have all sorts of things running on other tabs in the background, right? So spreadsheets are another tool. Email marketing tools are also another thing that you can use to create these really nice tech-enabled experiences where you're delivering the value to your customers. So I'm not talking about sending email marketing campaigns. I'm talking about actually delivering the value. So if you have a recommendation service, for example, or you have something like that, that you're actually delivering those recommendations via email. Now, a lot of email marketing tools have sophisticated logic built in. So what you're seeing on the screen is you're sending one email, and it's dynamically showing one thing to men and another thing to women, right? You can get really fancy with this too. You can show to one thing to women who have these 3 features, and another thing to women who have these 2 features, and another thing, so you can get really fancy with it, right? This is just a simple example, email marketing tools. Sonar is a tool that allows you to create something called an invisible app. We're gonna talk more about invisible apps a little bit later. But an invisible app is something that uses SMS text message or something like that to deliver your experience. And so Sonar is a tool that you can use to deliver your service via SMS text. Zapier, how many of you have heard of Zapier before? Some people. Okay. Zapier is a really awesome tool that allows you to connect different apps together using logic. So I'm showing you all of these different apps, and if you want them to speak to each other so that when someone signs up, then you send all their sign-up information to a spreadsheet so you know who all your customers are. And you don't want to have to manually do that every time. You can use Zapier to automatically connect your sign-up page to your spreadsheet. Or when someone signs up, then you can automatically connect it to send a joint calendar invite on both of your calendars, right? So you can do all sorts of automations. Just about any software tool you can think of is available to be connected on Zapier. Wix is also a really good example. Now, most people know Wix for building websites, just regular websites. You guys know Wix, right? But Wix also allows you to create apps and login portals for your customers. So you can create like a Yelp-like review system, which is what you see here. People can log in, give their reviews, give comments back and forth, rate things, etc. You can also build a flight booking system, all sorts of things like this. Put in your preferences. I prefer a window seat, and here's my frequent flyer miles, and go book this flight for me. So you can build these login portals with usernames and passwords and all those things on Wix too. Lots of people don't know that. Okay, we're gonna get fancier as we go along. So AppSheet is a tool that allows you to take a spreadsheet of information and turn it into an app. Yeah. So you can visualize data on a chart, you can have images that show, you can have people sign for things, you can have people type things in, input things, change data, change information, all sorts of stuff. And so you start with a spreadsheet, and it turns your spreadsheet into an app. And this is an app that can be on the Android or iOS App Store, also on desktop on your computer. Mighty Networks is a tool that allows you to create your own social network app. So everyone gets their own profile, people can like each other, follow each other, there's a feed of information, people posting back and forth, you can start discussion forums, all sorts of things like that. So Mighty Networks allows you to create your own social network app. ShareTribe is a tool that allows you to create your own marketplace app without writing any code. And so a marketplace, just to be clear, is a place where people are buying and selling things from each other. Think Airbnb, right? So people can book things from each other, they can exchange information, you can take a percentage of that transaction so you can make money from it, all that stuff on ShareTribe. Motion AI allows you to create artificial intelligence chatbots without writing any code. Stencil allows you to create video games without writing any code, and you can put them to any of the app stores as well as on the computer and on your browser. Here's an example of a video game that was created without writing any code. And there are even more like advanced tools, like this tool called Bubble, where you get a completely clean slate and you can create anything you want. So the way that you do that is you drag, drop, point, click, and design things that you want on the page. And then you logically tell the app what to do in English. So for example, when the page is loaded, then do something. Or when the page is loaded and the user is not logged in, then show them the pop-up that tells them to log in. So if you can think it through in English, you just write it in, and it's just in English in a language you already know. And so I want to show you an example of an app that was built using that tool called Bubble, one of the more advanced tools. And this app is called Not Real Twitter. It's a real website. It's notrealtwitter.com. And I want to read to you the introduction of Not Real Twitter because it makes a really interesting statement about what's now possible for folks like me and you who have ideas for apps but don't necessarily know how to code. So this is what the intro to Not Real Twitter says. It says, "Welcome to Not Real Twitter. Just like Twitter, but worse. A lot worse. The purpose of this site isn't to steal Twitter's business or to give people a chance at a fresh social media start. It is to show the future of software development. Because in 2025, most software won't be made by coders, but instead by people from diverse backgrounds using logic. The person who built this site isn't a software engineer. He didn't use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Perl, PHP, Python, etc. You may have heard of some of these things. In fact, he didn't write a single line of code. And it closes out with a quick note, and it says, enjoy Not Real Twitter. And a quick note to Twitter, please don't sue us. So you close out of the intro to Not Real Twitter, and you're on the Not Real Twitter homepage, where you can create a Not Real Twitter account for yourself with a Not Real Twitter handle and a password and all that information. Or if you already have a Not Real Twitter account, then you can just log back in with your username and password. And then you enter Not Real Twitter, where you can post tweets and like people's tweets and retweet tweets and reply to tweets, and you get recommendations of who to follow based on who's posting similar content to you. You can also upload photos, see how many tweets you posted, see how many people are following you, how many people you're following, see a notification feed, send direct, pretty much anything you can do on Twitter, you can do on Not Real Twitter. And this was built completely without code using logic and English. So I like to show this example because you get a clean slate. Oh, you guys are excited now. You get a clean slate, and you get to design whatever you want. And for those of you who are more advanced, you can connect all sorts of APIs, connect it to all sorts of other information and data, all sorts of stuff like that. So Bubble is one of the more advanced tools. I showed you kind of a range of tools. And so don't forget, there's a spectrum of tools that you can use. There's some beginning, intermediate, and advanced things. I just showed you an example of an advanced tool. But I also want to go back to some of the beginning tools. So how many of you guys have heard of an invisible app before today? Maybe like 1 or 2 people. Okay. So this is what an invisible app is. Invisible apps are actually really popular in tech and in Silicon Valley these days. So an invisible app is an app that has no logins, no passwords, there's nothing in the App Store, and customers love them because you come to them, right? How many times have you downloaded an app and forgot about it? I do that all the time. Or downloaded an app and forgot your password, so you couldn't get back in, so you never really got back in, and you forgot about it, right? Like, it happens all the time. And so customers really like invisible apps because with the saturation of everybody making you download an app, finally somebody's just coming to me. And so the way that invisible apps work is you deliver value via SMS text messaging or emails, URLs to simple surveys, landing pages, and you connect it all together. All those tools speak to each other, but there's no logins, there's no passwords, it's an invisible app. And so when you think about your app ideas journey, I want you to think about it in a 5-step process. So step 1 is that you come up with the idea. Most of you who have already done this already are kind of pondering a couple ideas going through your head. Step 2 is to create your invisible app. Step 3 is to create an MVP. In tech, we call this a minimum viable product. This is just another, like, fancy words for the first fancy version of your app. And then you're going to iterate a bunch of times because no matter what you have in your head, you probably don't have it perfect for what your customers want, right? So you're going to iterate until you hit something called product market fit, which is where you have the right product for the right audience, right? So the challenge, and this is why many startups fail, is they try to jump from step 1 all the way to step 3. This happens for a couple reasons. Sometimes they don't know that step 2 exists. Sometimes they're like, oh, forget step 2. I can make a big jump. I got this. But the problem with building the fancy app first, well, there's a couple problems. One, it's super expensive. So you're going to dish out $20,000 plus to get started. 2, you might build the wrong things, right? And so if you build some things, you put it in front of your customers say, oh, I really like this, but could you change X, Y, Z? Now you got to go back and spend more money. And it takes a long time to actually get this developed. If you wait too long, someone else may move first. That's the problem with building the fancy thing first. And so as I was mentioning, people try to jump from step 1 to step 3. They want to build the fancy thing first and end up falling through the cracks because they can't make that jump, right? This is why people say, you may have heard before, like, startups fail. Most startups fail. This is why, right? So I just want to remind you that it doesn't have to be perfect when you launch. This is what the first version of Facebook looked like when it launched. One of my favorite parts about this is that if you look at the Facebook versus the Facebook, they weren't even sure if they wanted to capitalize the. They were inconsistent. And pretty much you could just log in, find people at your school, and like poke people. That was all you could do. Anyone remember this? Yeah. So Reid Hoffman, who's the co-founder of LinkedIn, he has this great quote. He says, if you're not embarrassed of the first version of your product, then you've launched too late. I'll say it again so you guys get that. If you're not embarrassed of the first version of your product, then you've launched too late. And so what you can do is test your app idea with an invisible app as your first step. I also want to show you kind of the first version of Twitter, another company called Magic, and also a first version of some of the apps that I've built, because they teach us something really important about starting small. So this is what the first version of Twitter looked like. Anyone remember this? No? Okay. So Twitter launched as an SMS text-based service. So you typed in what you were up to, and it sent text messages to your friends or followers to let them know. Right? That's it. And so if we wanted to today recreate the first version of Twitter, we could use a tool that allows us to send SMS text. We could first set up a website where people could sign up, right, and type in their tweets. You all know how to maybe make a basic website. And then you could send out the messages through a tool like Sonar, which will send the text messages to everybody. But you've got to get the information from the website to Sonar so it can send the text. So you might use Zapier to send it from the website to Sonar. So So we can use 3 tools to create this invisible app and relaunch Twitter if we would want to. Magic is another example of an invisible app. I don't know if you guys have heard of Magic. Magic has this website. I'll show you their website. It says, upgrade your life with a 24/7 personal assistant. And so it says Magic responds 24/7 within seconds or minutes. By the way, all Magic is a phone number that you can text, right? Magic will work on anything you give it as long as it's legal. There's a team of trained assistants who are going to answer you, and they improve over time by learning your preferences. So here's some examples of things that you can do with Magic. You can say, uh-oh, I'm at the airport and I forgot my passport. Can you go back to my apartment and get it for me? Or, hey, I'm at my kid's school. Can you bring me a Spider-Man costume? I completely forgot it's Halloween by 3 p.m. Or can you help me create some content for my blog or take care of my customer support? And they'll go help you find people and kind of help you do all of that. You just text them. And so in 2015, Magic raised $12 million from investors. And literally all they had built was a phone number that you can text. I also want to show you another example of this, because when I first launched my app, you can see this ugly website that I launched. And what I did was I allowed people to sign up and tell a little bit about their taste, what they liked in artwork. I used a survey to do that, to get all their sign-up information. And my invisible app looked like this. So first there was a landing page where people could sign up. That landing page had a link to a sign-up survey so people could put their information in and actually sign up. Then I connected with via Zapier so that every time someone signed up, all the sign-up information went to a spreadsheet, so I have a database of all my customers. And then I created another Zapier Zap that said every time there's a new row added to the spreadsheet, send that person in the row another link with an email, another email with a link to another survey. This is a totally different survey. This is a survey that had art recommendations in it for them. So this is what that first version looked like. It said Art for Tara, but it was personalized dynamically for everyone's name. And it showed pieces of artwork for them and allowed them to rate them on a 1 through 5 scale, ask them why they liked their that artwork, etc. And so what I was doing was I built this using a survey tool. I used Typeform and then later Survey Gizmo. And what I was doing was I was using the show-hide logic in the survey. So if someone said, I like photography, I would show all the photography and hide all the paintings. Or if someone said, I like photography and I have a budget of $500 and below, I would show all the photography under $500 and hide everything else. Right? So using that logic. And people would email me and say, oh my gosh, your app is so cool. Little did they know I just hacked a survey. Spent probably $35 a month on the survey subscription. And so that first invisible app that I built generated my first $35,000 in sales and got me a $100,000 investment from a top accelerator in Silicon Valley called 500 Startups. And so invisible apps, just to reiterate, have no logins, no passwords, there's nothing in the App Store, and customers love them because you come to them. You deliver value via SMS, emails, URLs to surveys, simple landing pages, et cetera, and you connect them all together. Cool. So as I was saying earlier, there's a spectrum of logic tools that you can use. You can go all the way from an invisible app all the way to something fancy like that bubble tool or that not real Twitter example, right? And when you think about your app ideas journey, it's a 5-step process. So that's secret number 1. You can build an app in just a few days by using tools with logic. Cool? All right. Let's move on. Secret number 2, your app's business model must match your target lifestyle. Your app's business model must match your target lifestyle. So most people don't ever think about this. They look at Facebook and they say, oh, I'll do what Facebook does. I'm going to make my app free and I'm going to monetize through advertising. Just like that. Or they look at Uber and they say, okay, I'll do what Uber does. I'm going to make money by charging a 3% transaction fee for every transaction that happens on my app, right? Most people plan their business without fully considering the kind of life that they want to live as an entrepreneur, the kind of life they want to live as a CEO, and they end up getting trapped. So I have a couple questions for you guys. I want to know what kinds of business models you're considering. In other words, how are you thinking about making money with your app idea? It's okay if you're not fully sure, but we'll kind of do some brainstorming here. So I'll give you some options. These are really the most common ways that people make money with an app idea. So the first one are low transaction fees. This is like Uber's business model. So you get in a ride, it's $10. Uber kind of shares some of that with the driver, and they take a cut of it as well, a small cut. Show of hands, how many of you are thinking like a low transaction fee, something that's under 25%? Anyone? Okay, a couple people. Cool. How many of you are thinking high transaction fees? So you're going to take like 25% or above of it. Oftentimes this looks more like a commission or something like that. Any thoughts here? Okay, a couple people in the back. What about a low one-time or annual fee? So they just pay one time or one time a year, something like that. Okay, more people. Got it. It'll be under $600. Yeah? Okay, cool. What about a high one-time or annual fee? So something above $600, yeah? Maybe licensed to businesses or offered to businesses. What about low subscriptions? So like a monthly recurring subscription and something that's less than $49 or $50 a month. Okay, a lot of people here. High subscriptions, more than $50 a month. No one, okay. And what about you are planning to make it free and then make money with ads? Show of hands. Okay, got it. So these are often the business models that people are choosing from. And some of you guys have some ideas of which business model you kind of want to pursue, or maybe a combination of these. And so my second question for you is, what kind of lifestyle are you working towards? I'll give you some options again. So the first one is a lifestyle business CEO. There's a kind of life that you have as a lifestyle business CEO. So specifically, a lifestyle business is a business that's set up primarily for you to sustain a particular income for yourself and no more. So I want to get to $150,000, that's what I want to pay myself, and I'm good there. Okay, that's what a lifestyle business is. You're comfortable keeping it there. And so as a lifestyle business CEO, there's certain things that happen, right? What your life looks like. So you do most of the work yourself. You may manage a small team of kind of virtual assistants or assistants in general, but you kind of do most of that work yourself. You get to work when you want to. It's low pressure. There's not a whole bunch of pressure and team telling you when to do stuff. You may possibly need to take on some side jobs to make ends meet occasionally, right? And you serve a small boutique-like audience of customers. So that's kind of what your life looks like, the things you're doing as a lifestyle business CEO. The second option is a high-growth business CEO. This is what we typically think about when we think about these like rocket ship startups like Facebook, for example. So a high-growth business is set up primarily with the aim of high growth to get a really profitable short-term exit. When I say exit, I mean you sell or you go public. Right? So that's what, for example, companies like Facebook were going after, trying to sell or go public as quickly as they can. And so you have a certain kind of life when you run a high-growth business and you're a high-growth business CEO. So your main job is to manage people, raise money, and report to stakeholders. That's your job. So you as a CEO, that's what you spend your time doing. And you work a lot. Maybe you don't have a ton of days off. You have a high-paid salary. You maybe have raised venture capital. You have investors who are giving you money. You have lots of pressure to keep that high growth so that you can pay back your investors. But you have a huge impact as well on a large customer audience. So that's kind of like what you're doing, what your life looks like as a high-growth business CEO. There's no right and wrongs here. It's just what you want for yourself. Okay, and the third option is a sustainable growth business CEO. So a sustainable growth business is a business that's set up with the aim of a medium-term or long-term self-sufficiency. You might want to pass this business on to your kids or have the option to, something like that, right? And so, by the way, sustainable growth businesses can still be big businesses, $25 million businesses, but the point is not to, as quickly as possible, sell it or go public. That's the difference between the previous one. And so your life looks like a couple things here. So your main job is to do the things that you're good at, and you hire people for the rest. You work a medium amount with some flexibility. You have a market rate salary that's good. You hire and grow slowly and carefully, right? You're not putting tons of money in to go as fast as you can. You're growing slowly and carefully. You have little or to no pressure to pay investors back. Your company structure is built to prioritize the well-being of your employees versus the well-being of investors. And your business is healthy and positioned to be around for a long time. So that's what you're doing, what your life looks like as a sustainable growth business CEO. So you get to look at these three things and say, like, what do I want for my life, right? And there's no right or wrong, you just get to choose. And so, show of hands, how many of you guys are going after the lifestyle business CEO life? Okay. What about high growth business CEO life? What about sustainable growth? Oh, that's like most people. All right, wow. Okay, so, I'm going backwards. So what you want to do is make sure that your business plan and your business model matches your target lifestyle. So some business models make it hard to achieve certain lifestyles. They don't really match up very well. For example, if you want to have a lifestyle business CEO, here's some business models that are difficult to actually accomplish, right? Low transaction fees, low one-time fees, low subscriptions, and free plus ads. Why? Because you need a lot of scale to make these work. You need lots of customers to actually make, so you're taking 3 cents on every transaction, you need a lot of 3 cents to pay your bills, right? Or if you're gonna make it free, make money from ads later, you need to go to an advertiser and say, hey, you should advertise with me because I have a big, huge audience. So it's gonna take some time for you to build your big, huge audience, which means you'll be a little bit broke in that interim, right? Here are the business models that work really well if you want that lifestyle business CEO kind of life, right? These high ticket, more premium experiences allow you to have fewer customers and be okay, and have lots of customers and also be okay, right? Same thing for the sustainable growth business CEO lifestyle, right? There's some business models that make it really difficult to get that kind of lifestyle that you want, and some others that work really well. And so what you want to do is build a business that can be successful when it's big and when it's small, right? So if you're making 3 cents on every transaction when you're small, you're still broke. You have to get big in order for this to work, right? So if there's certain business models that you want, particularly for those of you who are looking for that sustainable growth business CEO lifestyle, you want to avoid business models that only work with scale. Don't get trapped and pick the wrong thing and then have to kind of like later on change the life that you want to live because you landed in something you didn't intend. So that's secret number 2. Your app's business model must match your target lifestyle. All right, secret number 3, stop listening to your friends. Instead, publicly promote your app, build a wait list, and use it to get feedback that'll save you time and money. So a lot of you guys are doing this. You're like, oh, I have an idea. Let me ask my friends and family what they think, and they'll tell me if it's a good idea or not. First of all, your friends and family are going to be the first ones to ask you for the discount. They're going to be the first ones. Also, they may not be your customers, right? Like they may be completely different kinds of people or customers, and it's fine, their opinion's fine, but they're not representative of your customers and how they think. Also, your friends and family are going to nod their head and smile and say everything's a good idea. And it does not mean that you're actually going to make money from it. Also, a lot of people are on the other side of the spectrum. They think that they shouldn't tell anyone, and they've got to keep their idea completely secret until it's completely ready. So I would like to see you guys not take any of those routes. Don't fall into those traps. And so I wanted to share, to close out, a quick story, because I was sharing earlier how I made my first $35,000 with that invisible app. So I want to walk you through what I was doing to actually get there. So as I mentioned, I launched that ugly website in 3 days, had the idea on a Monday, launched this website on a Thursday. And I started publicly promoting my app from day one. This is a tweet that I posted. It says, my startup Collecto is featured on Product Hunt, this website today. Please go vote for it, check it out. At the time, it felt really strange to be calling what I was doing a startup because it was literally just me and an idea and like a half-baked website. But I was publicly promoting what I was building from day one, not hiding it. On the website, I put a join the waitlist button. And this worked for 2 reasons. One, it helped me manage workload. So if on day one, 1,000 people had signed up, I would have had no idea how I was going to fully help them. I was still figuring it out. So the join the waitlist button allowed me to slowly take people off the waitlist as I was ready for them, one at a time. 2 at a time, 10 at a time, 100 at a time, slowly, right? It also created excitement. People said, oh my gosh, there's a wait list, this must be cool, I'll sign up. So the join the waitlist strategy allows you to launch really early, maybe earlier than you think you're ready for, and start to get interest and figure out what people want. And finally, I got lots of feedback and made changes based on that feedback. So I was slowly taking people off the wait list and learning that, oh, this assumption I had about how the app should work, maybe that wasn't right. So for the next 5 people, I'm going to do something different. For the next 50 people, I'm going to do something different. Right? One of the things I thought was going to be super important was I thought that all of my customers, I wanted them to have this experience where when they signed up, they could video chat with an art advisor. So if they didn't know a ton about the kind of art that they liked, they could just get on and say, hey, I went to the museum the other day, I saw this cool thing, I know I can't afford that, but can you help me find something like that, right? It turned out I could not get anyone on video chat. People who didn't know a ton about art felt really intimidated talking to an expert about it. I am so glad I didn't spend a ton of time and money building a video chat-based platform. It would have been a waste, right? So slowly take people off your wait list, get feedback, and make those changes that'll save you time and money. So that's secret number 3. Stop listening to your friends. Sometimes they lead you astray on this kind of stuff. Instead, publicly promote your app, build a wait list, and use it to get feedback that'll save you time and money. So, quick question for you guys. Is this helpful? Yeah? Okay, good. So, quick recap of what we've learned thus far. Secret number 1, you can build an app in just a few days by using tools with logic. All sorts of different tools out there for you to use. Secret number 2, your app's business model must match your target lifestyle, what you're trying to create for yourself. Otherwise, you'll get trapped in something that you didn't even intend. And secret number 3, stop listening to your friends. Instead, publicly promote your app, build a wait list, and use it to get feedback that'll save you time and money. Cool, so I just want to let you guys know that for those of you who want to take some of this stuff and implement it in your business, I run this coaching program called Apps Without Code Bootcamp. It's a 3-month training to get your app idea from idea all the way to launched with customers and revenue. And so the next group of entrepreneurs that I'm going to be working with, we're going to start on July 14th, so coming up in about a month. If you're interested, let me know. We can talk more about it. And then also, I know we talked about a ton of tools and moved really quickly, so if you want to grab all those tools in the toolkit, you can send me a quick text, and I'll send you the toolkit. Cool? All right. Thank you so much.